5, 4, 3, 2. You're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome you back to Dr. Gilead Show. Today, November 10, 2016. Remember, we are on WBGR Radio and Facebook Live, and you can also reach us on Twitter. Today, I have a special guest, but remember, you can call in onto WBGR 301-429-9247, 301-429-9247. Today, I have a special guest, and she will introduce herself. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Wanibe.
Okay, so my name is Angela Onwanabe. I'm a psychiatrist. And the way to say my name is like I want to be on WGR. But
I want to be, right?
I'm a psychiatrist, and I practice in the Maryland area in Columbia. Actually, I've been a psychiatrist since went to medical school, graduated in 1985. 1985, class of 1985, and came to Georgetown for my residency, and was at Georgetown from 1995 to 1999. And so finished my residency in psychiatry in 1999 and moved on to the University of Maryland to do a mixture of different things, including inpatient psychiatry, outpatient psychiatry, and of course teaching. So I was in the University of Maryland till about 2011, and I left early 2012 to do different things. One of the things I wanted to do was to look at practice psychiatry in the community. So I've been in private practice since then.
Wow. Yeah, I remember I met you at University of Maryland. Yeah. She used to be an assistant professor at University of Maryland when I did my residency. That's where we met.
Yes, that is true. I think I'm suspecting that's one of the first questions he wants to ask me. And binge eating disorder is...
Don't worry, it was just, I gotta have a little hitch there. But before we start, we like to, do a little thing, talk about what you shouldn't do based on what you hear on this platform. Dr. Gilead Show, please do not make a diagnosis of yourself based on what you hear on Dr. Gilead Show. Do not treat yourself, self-medicate based on what you hear on this platform. It's always good to get see your doctor, get the right diagnosis, and so that you can get appropriately treated. Dr. Gilead Show, the producers and the guests and the hosts are not responsible for whatever anyone does based on what they hear on this platform. It is always good to go see your doctor, get the correct referral, so that you can get properly treated. All right, so today we're talking about binge eating disorders. Binge eating disorders. Dr. Wanibe, this is your special area. This is your little niche. Can you tell us a little bit about binge eating disorders? What is this? What is binge eating disorders?
I think that's a great question. Binge eating disorder, we all tend to binge, and people think that the binge eating disorder is really not about just occasionally feeling bad and eating excessively or taking comfort food, using comfort food to comfort yourself. So what is binge eating? Binge eating is a psychiatric condition, actually, now in the DSM-5, which is a manual for psychiatric disorders, which is characterized by a person having episodes of excessive eating in a very short period of time. So in about an hour or two period of time, eating much more than what normal people would eat or what would be considered a normal amount of food. For instance, if you're someone that would sit at one time and eat 2 boxes of pizza or 3 boxes of pizza at a sitting, in a 1 hour to 2 hour period, that would typically not be considered a normal amount of consumption of food at the time. What is important about binge eating is that in addition to this consuming large quantities of food in that period of time, you also feel very distressed about it. So it's followed by a period where you feel like, I can't believe I did that. What is going on? Why did I have to do this? This is horrible. Also interesting is that out of all the eating disorders which we're familiar with, binge eating is actually the most common.
Yep.
So it's about 8 million Americans a year suffer from binge eating disorder. Interesting about binge eating is that most of the patients who have binge eating, most of the people who have binge eating are actually not overweight. So it's one of those eating disorders where sometimes it's very secretive. So you may know some of these episodes of eating. So you feel like you can't control your actions. You feel very regretful about it. And so typically, that's how it compromises. A lot of food in a very short period of time. Binges happen in episodes, as we know by the name of the word binging. So if you're somebody who is doing this 2 to 3 times a week, then you may be considered more moderate. If it's something that happens occasionally, when you get bad news or when you're, very upset about something, that may be mild. Some people have severe binge eating disorders where they binge in this pattern up to 14 times a week.
14 times?
So it can go between 14 and 20 times a week, where you're constantly sitting and eating this enormous amounts of food without and feeling very bad about it.
So and before talking about binge eating, we know most people are aware of anorexia. Most people are aware of bulimia nervosa, anorexia nervosa. How can our listeners and our viewers differentiate between bulimia nervosa and binge eating disorder?
So that's a great question. So the out of all the eating disorders, the ones that people tend to know a lot about is anorexia nervosa and bulimia. The difference is between the anorexic patients or patients who have anorexia nervosa is it's a food restriction disorder. So people don't want to eat.
That's an anorexia.
In anorexia. So they don't want to eat. They restrict food. They over-exercise, and they have a somewhat, unusual image of, their body weight. The fear of eating is very, very significant in anorexia. In bulimia nervosa, the difference between that and binge eating is that the patients who have bulimia or people who have bulimia tend to engage in other activities that keep their weight low. So they want to binge, so you have the binging component where they eat an enormous amount of food or they're trying to satisfy a craving or an urge. But at the same time, they engage in purging behaviors. They may induce themselves to have self-vomiting, or they may go to the bathroom to either purge, take laxatives, or vomit the food up.
All right, hold your thought there. We have a caller. Hello?
Hello there.
Hi. You are welcome to Dr. Gilead's show.
Yes. I have a question for the doctor.
Yes.
Why is binge eating seems to be more prevalent in women, actually twice, but more prevalent in women than in men? Why is that?
All right, so our caller is asking, why is binge eating 2 times more common in women than in men? Dr. Wanibe, why is that?
Well, it's a good question, and I don't want to be sexist in this radio show, but I do think that most eating disorders are actually more common in women than in men, including anorexia or bulimia. And I do think part of that is the societal pressures, because most of the eating disorders also have a psychosocial component. And what we mean by psychosocial component is that when you have stressors, when there's societal pressures, especially on women to look a certain way, and to feel a certain way, and to have a certain outward appearance, it puts that pressure on people to, if they want to binge, they'll binge and they'll find ways to get rid of the food so they don't gain the weight. But I think so it is more prevalent in women, but what is very important about binge eating is that patients or people who have the disorder actually have normal weight. However, the people who present for treatment, and remember we're psychiatrists, so we get people presenting for treatment in distress, are presenting because they have concerns about their weight. So a lot of times it's unusual to see a patient who presents who is of normal weight unless a family member says, this thing that you're doing, it's a problem,
right.
you need to get it taken care of. But typically both male and female patients, and I have several male patients actually in my practice, who present mainly because of the changes in weight. And for women, as you know well, the struggles of weight, they're a lifelong struggle. And a lot of times, a lot of our male patients, probably just because of the way men are genetically and the muscle mass they have, we don't see them present with the illness until they're in their 30s or 40s. So they present a little bit later, a little bit of middle-age spread is coming around, and they've decided that maybe part of it is the way they are eating. And so that's when we see a lot of the male patients.
So, but also, could it be some genetic thing in the females, or is it just the psychosocial stressors of how they want to look? The way they want to look skinny or slim, societal pressures, or is it there's something in the brain of females that could make them be more susceptible
I mean, it's a great question. I think the research on that is still kind of out. So I think, but I do think a lot of it too, in terms of the presentation, like binge eating is something, it's an illness, it's like diabetes. There's a decrease in a chemical in the brain that is causing a particular center in your brain to require you to do this. So it's not something you do, it's a condition you have, like, diabetes or hypertension. It's a condition you have. It's seen as a chronic condition, as all the eating disorders are. So they're not really things that people deliberately turn on themselves and try and do. It's something that it's a medical condition.
Right, and I think a few of psychiatric illnesses. I mean, here on this platform, we talked about anxiety, depression, panic attacks. They all seem to be more prevalent in females than in males. So possibly it's either men don't present normally like women. They try to mature it out, or they are more. Women easily go to seek help because they think there's pressure from the family to go get help, or just the way they feel, or the way they are made. Women are made to look good, so if there's anything that makes them appear that the way they shouldn't be, they quickly go get help. So anyway, thank you for calling. I hope we answered your question. Some things are not clear-cut, but statistically is been shown that binge eating disorders is 2 times more common in women than in men, and you're absolutely right. 1.6% in females and 0.8 in males. So you're absolutely right. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have another question, but I'm going to tell you loose for brevity of time.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I'll cut you loose.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, doctor.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So Dr. Wanabe, what are the causes of binge eating disorder? Do we know? What is it from your experience?
We actually don't know.
Yeah.
So that's a great question. We actually don't know what the causes are. I think a question would be, why is it coming up now? Something that we all know that people have been doing for a really long time. And I think the issues that are prevalent in the society today, which are causing more illnesses, is the issue of obesity. And so with binge eating, like we said initially, even though a lot of our patients or people who have it don't present with obesity, one of the challenges is that when you're constantly eating large quantities of food, it puts you at risk because you're also having difficulties with managing your sugar levels. When you eat a large quantity of food, of course, we release insulin and all the natural things. So it's you create those trigger imbalances. You can also create conditions that can worsen, your healthcare situation.
Yeah, and also there was some literature talking about the hypothalamus, which is a part of the brain. Yeah, so the hypothalamus may not be sending the adequate signal to the brain that, hey, we're full, and you keep wanting to eat even when there is no real hunger to eat. So the brain misinterprets the regulation to want to eat. There are a few other things, of course, evidence that it happens more in some families.
Correct.
So there may be a genetic component to it.
Maybe a genetic disposition.
So
in certain families.
But
and also patients who've also had some trauma. So sometimes eating, like all of us know, is a mechanism of coping with stress. So if you're someone who's been particularly traumatized in early childhood or adolescent or adult years, you're going to be more susceptible to using food as a coping mechanism. So
yes, like some people, when they are bored, they eat, or they're under pressure, they eat. I think is one of those things. But ironically, they don't gain weight. Most of them could be of normal weight, and but there are a few who could present with obesity. So, so could it be that even though they eat a whole lot in short periods of time, their body metabolic rate is high, or they don't eat that much, or they don't eat that often? So they binge eat at a particular time and could go days without eating anymore.
Correct.
So,
Correct. And then they just could go days with just eating normal food. So remember, binging by definition is episodic. So you're eating at certain times. And if it's a severe case where you're doing this more than 10 times a week, you may likely have some weight gain issues associated with it. But the majority of the patients are usually between mild and moderate, and they're not doing it as often. So probably in between times you're just eating normally.
Wow, okay, that's good. I mean, we talked about the prevalence, but also I saw some statistic there that is as common in whites as Hispanics and African Americans, and it says in non-Hispanic Caucasians, it occurs in 1.4%, while in Hispanics it's about 2.1%, and in Asians 1.2, African Americans 1.5. So across the board,
same like most psychiatric illnesses, across the board.
Across the board.
Yeah.
But also, I saw this thing that says that it's more common in people seeking weight loss programs. They do want to get some weight loss, so they come to weight loss treatment centers. But when the doctor takes a detailed history, he finds out that this person is binge eating.
And I think that's good. I think that's a good point, especially like we said. What is a driver of a lot of people to seek treatment is the fact that they want to lose weight. If you're binging most of the time and you're still within your normal BMI, you're unlikely to. You're just going to look at it as having, unless it's disturbing your relationship. But typically, most people are going to seek treatment just because of they're trying to lose weight. So, and we do want to make sure we also differentiate binge eating not from other psychiatric disorders such as anorexia nervosa and bulimia, but also from normal overeating. Just because you're binging, binge eating disorder is a specific disorder. We talked about the criteria, things that have to happen for you to meet that criteria. But if you're just normal overeating and making the wrong choices, that's something that we can help with as well. But it doesn't necessarily make you make you have the diagnosis of binge eating disorder. You can just have.
So overeating would be like I eat 3 meals a day, but huge amount of
portions, choosing the wrong foods to eat, eating more, eating late, and I think that is directly correlated, as we know, with weight gain and obesity. So those patients, people who do that may be seeking methods to lose weight. And most times the treatment of binge eating disorder really does not involve weight management. And any of the medications used for the treatment is specifically does not involve management of weight. It really involves more the management of a reaction in your brain, which we're still trying to figure out what it is, that is producing this desire and this compulsion. So it's almost similar to OCD. So we actually look at patients who have binge eating disorder. We actually give them the white box scale. So we look at patients with binge eating disorder once you've screened positive as patients really who have a form of obsessive compulsive disorder, where you're obsessively thinking about food all the time, and when you do react to that compulsion, it's an excessive amount of food. So it's very similar to OCD.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Wanabe, for that enlightenment. I see John. Hey, John, how are you? Thank you for tuning in. Miss Candice, Bifani, and someone else here thanking us for what we're doing. We appreciate you. We appreciate you tuning in. You can call in on WBGR 301-429-9247, 301-429-9247. If you have a contribution to make or a question, we'll be very happy to answer your questions. All right, we will go to how do you know that you have binge eating disorder? How does binge eating disorder present? What are the symptoms? What are the things that the doctor will be looking out for? And for you or a family member, what is it you see that may make you say, I think my brother, my wife, or my spouse needs to go see someone because of what I'm seeing. So these are the presentations or the symptoms of binge eating disorder. And like Dr. Wanibe said, they have recurrent episodes of eating, that is recurrent episodes of eating that is characterized by discrete time. So they may eat every 2 hours, and they eat portions that are much higher than any any regular person will eat at a similar time. They also seem to have a sense of the sense of lack of control over the eating. They can't control themselves. They can't help themselves. And during each of these episodes of eating, they just can't stop. They know that they are eating too much. They know that they are eating more than they should eat, but they can't help themselves. The control is not there. And this is much more than anyone would eat at any point in time. The binge eatings are associated with the following. They eat more rapidly. You get a guy, a huge portion of food, before you know it, it's all over, it's all gone. They don't watch the rate at which other people are eating. And sometimes I go to restaurants and I see people, they give their portions, and before you know it, they're done. I don't know whether that could be part of the binge eating or just some people eat fast, but it's one of the criteria. Sometimes they eat until they feel uncomfortably full, but they can't help themselves. And they eat large amounts of food. And even though they're not feeling physically hungry, so there's that craving to eat, but they are not hungry, they are full, but they still want to eat. And the other point is, because they don't want people to see the portion they're eating, how fast they're eating, what do? They don't want to eat with someone else. So they isolate.
Yeah, for eating alone.
Yes, they isolate, they eat alone, because it's so embarrassing to sit down and watch people see you eat that fast, eat that much. So they don't want to eat at the table with family members because they don't want to be seen. Now, like Dr. Wanibe said, there's marked distress regarding binge eating. They feel uncomfortable, they don't like it, and it recurs. You talked about the mild, the moderate, and severe forms of binge eating. What are the criteria again for the mild, moderate, and...
Sometimes the mild, I think, is between less than 3 episodes a week. And then the moderate can be anywhere between 3 and 14. And severe is well over
14. So if they're having binge eating more than 14 times, that means 2-3 times a day.
Yes, and some people do that. So they meet that criteria where you talk about eating those discrete amount of foods as much as 2-3 times a day.
A day.
So.
Wow. How early in life does this start? How early, like kid or adolescent, or?
It doesn't start in childhood that we haven't seen, but some of the studies have shown that adolescents and early adults. But like I said, the presentation is much later. Remember, with binge eating, because it's an episodic illness, people can maintain normal weight. And so a lot of times when people present for treatment, it's usually when they're older, because if you're binging and then plus you're doing other things, you're not exercising as frequently, your lifestyle has changed, or you're in your 40s, that's when people tend to present and say, I have a problem.
I have a problem. Or maybe the spouse complains or something. In this, there was a question that came on to my site, asking, during these difficult times of poverty everywhere, lack of food, how do you manage a family member? How do people cope with their binge eating?
I think it depends, and I think that's also what is the driver of the patients in binge eating who have obesity. If you're eating a large amount of food and discrete food and it's good food, remember, so then you find out that you may actually not gain weight if you're in the mild to moderate range. But I think in anybody who is in a more restricted economic situation, especially patients or people who suffer from these conditions outside the U.S., because I know even if we're short on money in the U.S., we're very fortunate and blessed that there are different resources, non-profits, there are different ways that you can access food, and so a lot of times you don't have as many people. So in different parts of the world where you can still have this condition, but at the same time have I think what happens is people just go to food that is less expensive, which is what causes the illness, and then food that is much, much cheaper, you know, at the time, but they still do eat.
Well, there's a lot of food now. There's a report that this year, 2016, is the year that we have the largest amount of food in the U.S. in the last 25 years. Wow. So we have excess, we have surplus, and the price of food has really dropped. So we have quite a lot to eat. So there's a lot of food to eat, but we have to manage it. We can't eat just because we have it. All right, we have a caller. Hello, you're welcome to Dr. Gilead Show.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. This is Michael from Baltimore. I was calling to ask Dr. Wannabe a question about binge eating.
Yes, go ahead, please.
All right. I'm an athletic person. I'm fit, but I always get these cravings at nighttime, and I still eat. Always have to have Reese cups. I was wondering, do you have to necessarily be overweight, not be active? Are any of those the criteria for binge eating?
So that's an excellent question, and thank you for asking it. If you're an athletic and healthy person, remember the criteria for binge eating is very specific. I sometimes get patients who say, like you, I had 20 Reese cups yesterday. I needed a whole carton of ice cream. A lot of people after the elections, my office was open the day after the elections, and we're in the Maryland area, so there was a lot of binge going on. And binge eating, but they're not necessarily binge eating disorder. So if you're eating Reese cups, maybe you've had a long day in the gym, the specific criteria for binge eating is not only do you have to eat that large amount of food, you also have to be distressed about the episodes of eating. So a lot of times when we come back from a hard day at work, we'll have that half a carton of ice cream. We'll do that, but we don't feel bad about it. We feel we deserve it. Oh, I really needed that. So that necessarily doesn't qualify for binge eating based on the fact that the episode is not accompanied with the distress and the overeat and the feeling of lack of control. So you also have to feel like you're overwhelmed, you can't control what's going on. You also have to feel, very bad about it, and that internal turning on yourself as well. So that's really what the criteria qualifies you for. So if if you're healthy, you're athletic, you have a long day, we just had an election, whatever it is, and you want to eat your Reese cups. I think people can do that, especially in your case. The things we worry about with binge eating is the medical sequelae, the things that can cause medical illnesses as a result of it. And also in psychiatry particularly, we don't only worry about medical issues, we worry about psychosocial functioning.
Yep.
So if you're doing something that's causing you to have difficulty with your relationships, or with your partner, then that also can lead to you having, dissatisfaction with your life, which can cycle into you having something else, anxiety and depression. So we want to keep away from those particular illnesses and see if we can work with the binge eating in a way that it doesn't get to that. So as long as you're having a good time, you're keeping yourself healthy, and you're keeping an eye on it, and it's just once or a couple of times a week, I wouldn't call it a disorder. Remember, the hallmark of the disorder is the distress about the episodes of eating.
And the craving and lack of control.
The lack of control.
What happens, I probably do about 6 times a week. Reese cups, it's always Reese cups.
Okay, and about 6 times a week. So maybe you do have the diagnosis, and maybe you should consider seeing your healthcare practitioner. Remember, you said maybe you do have the diagnosis. It's very clear. If you're doing this, it's a large amount, it's persistent, you feel bad about it, you feel like you can't control it. That is the criteria for the diagnosis, as long as you're not doing other things to avoid the weight gain from it. You're not throwing up your food, you're not vomiting it, you're not purging.
Right, and moreover, it looks like it's concerning to you.
Yes.
So maybe, maybe you go see Dr. Wannabe now. She's the expert in this. So, all right.
Well, where are you located, Dr. Wannabe?
Oh, it's a good question. I'm currently in Colombia, so my practice is in Colombia, and the best way to reach us really is just to go to our website, www.solutionsforminds.com, www.solutionsforminds.com, solutionsformindfulness.com. So all the information is posted. We do. We're actually one of the rare practices in the Columbia area that actually do accept insurance. So we're open to all insurances. We do believe that in these times of economic stress that sometimes it's difficult to find a provider that can accept your insurance and so you could be. So we do. We're very open. We look forward to seeing you. Go on the website. Give us a
I'm
call.
about to call right now.
Okay.
Put down them Reese cups.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. All right. So you're tuned on to Dr. Gilead Show. We're talking about binge eating disorder. Stay tuned. Don't go away. We're going to take a little break, and we'll be back shortly. Well, we're still on live, but it's okay. We just need to take a little break.
Oh, is that how things okay.
Well, here's the way you can do both. Vacation travel allows you the
You
luxury.
got some questions, make sure you call in.
If you want
It's hard to get free advice.
reduce the rates of travel agents, access to
There's a
worldwide
lot of apps that
Provider.
have
Yeah.
cruises,
Yes,
all
yeah,
types
we might
of
need to talk.
destination travel.
A whole lot of athletes that have that.
Oh, the athletes?
Yeah, a whole lot of them.
Yes.
I'm like him. I throw down a whole 24 Reese cups and a jar of peanut butter in a day.
That's 240-393-7932.
We might need to catch up. And that's what we should talk about through the treatment.
Yeah, no, we'll get there. Mhm.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a group with you then, the Reese Cup guy.
Yeah.
He's an athlete too.
Yeah, I might
so
have
that
my
shows you.
store right there. Boy, I tell some Reese cups up. Had a real funny guy. I usually tear the Reese cup open, tear off the packet, tear off the thing, throw it out the window with my left hand and eat the Reese cup. I was in the parking lot one day and I was tearing the packet and I tore off the thing with my right hand and threw the Reese cup out the window. I was like, oh man, that's crazy. Okay, somebody telling me.
Remember, that's actually one of the hallmarks of the binge eating as well, is that you want to hide the fact that you're doing it. So sometimes you get rid of the carton, get rid of the packet before they get into the house.
Well, you need to sit outside of 7-Eleven then, because everybody be out there, man, throwing down and probably going home telling their wife they ain't ate all day.
Oh, right. So it's a that's why we say it's a common illness. It's a you hit
I
the nail
saw
on
somebody eat
the
like
head.
4 hot dogs.
It's a common illness.
Wow.
On the corner
Yeah.
of Annapolis Road, Route 50, and Cooper Lane.
Landover Hills in the shopping center next to Value Village
All the
and
ratios.
Oh. Prescription delivery for
So
medical
that
prescriptions
Okay.
for residents in Landover Hills, College
Okay,
Park,
society.
Cheverly, and other surrounding areas. Call us at 301-341-1234 or visit us on the web at safechoicepharmacy.com.
All right, welcome back to Dr. Gilead Show. We just took a little break. I have a special guest today, Dr. Angela Onwanibi. She is an expert in binge eating disorders. Her practice is in Columbia, Maryland. She used to be my assistant professor. Welcome back to the show. You can call on WBGR Radio 301-429-9247. 301-429-9247. Ask your questions, and you can make a contribution of your experience with binge eating disorder. I see Mr. Newby, thank you for tuning in, and John Murphy, thank you for tuning in. Okay, so we will go to what for a person who has a diagnosis of binge eating disorder. What effect does this disorder have on the individual, the person per se? How does binge eating disorder affect the individual? Dr. Wanibe, I don't know how a person who is going through this problem, how does it affect the person, the individual, his or her life?
Well, I think it's important. First of all, when you're diagnosed with a disorder means that there's something disorder. So in psychiatry, for you can have a binge eating problem, may not necessarily meet the diagnosis, but once you have a condition that is beginning to affect your social and occupational functioning, then it becomes something that needs to be treated. So when you talk about the individual, what are some of the things that the individual goes through? What are some of the consequences, the functional consequences? I mean, part of binge eating is that feeling bad, that distress, that marked distress. For some people, that can even lead into other things, other illnesses, decreased self-esteem, decreased self-worth. Also, people who binge because they also eat alone. And later on in the segment, when we talk about the treatment, one of the things, they eat alone, so they isolate. So they tend to binge alone. It's something that is a behavior that you do on your own. So they tend to isolate. That takes them away from, the social environment of eating, which is actually a really important part of eating.
Wow.
And just to say, some of the cultures, especially Brazil, now has things that they're doing around eating and culture. And some cultures recently, they're promoting eating more in not just a nutrition on the go, the to-go style that we have here, but using eating to focus more on the celebration and the interpersonal relationship you have with whoever you're eating with. So it's eating more mindfully, essentially. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. So those are the kind of the problems: the isolation, the distress you have, the difficulty that impairs your quality of life if you have to constantly binge. To remember, some people who have moderate to severe binge eating are doing this 4 to 14 times a week.
Wow.
So this is part of your life that you could be productive. You could be with your significant other or your spouse or your partner, talking, doing things, interacting with your family members, your kids, but you're spending it in isolation, eating. So that part is very significant in that it impairs that. And for people who are constantly eating and they're a little bit older, like some of us, when you get a little bit older, you're not going to get away with those consequences of eating large amounts of food and not have the obesity or the increase in BMI, and that comes with the medical morbidities, hypertension, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, arthritis, and generally being overweight also leads to psychological issues as well.
Right.
Such as you isolate, you don't feel your self-esteem is down, it interferes with your relationships, it interferes with your ability to express yourself. So there is quite an individual consequence for having a condition that takes you into this eating.
Right, and the people want to have relationships. So when you're binge eating, you isolate. You lose the time with friends. Even people who want to date or something, they don't have anybody, or nobody can come in contact with you. Then there is the part of the social rejection, because they isolate, because they gain weight. The relationship with people is almost gone.
That's very true.
And the family is also affected in this. The part of the family relationship, they want to eat by themselves, so they don't eat at the dinner table with everybody. The relationship with spouse, like Dr. Wanibe mentioned, is gone. It brings unnecessary argument and fight in the house, just because the person is binge eating, spending all his or her time eating. And of course, this could affect your job as well. They don't want to go to work. Yes. They don't want to sit at your job and binge eating. So what do? They stay home. Possibly, they lose their job, and it brings a lot of financial strain on the family. Before you know it, a family that was doing well, happy together, they're broken because one person has lost their job and is not contributing financially anymore to the family.
And also, if someone who is binge eating, remember, it's an extraordinary amount of food in a short period of time.
Yes.
So if you have a moderate to severe binge eating, what's happening is that you're also finishing all the food at home. That's also a challenge if you're living and sharing food with other people.
Right.
And if you don't have, if you're not one of the people that can afford it, and you're essentially, especially we have people in colleges, a lot of students in colleges. I have a lot of patients now that are students in colleges. I mean, if you're in school and you're binging, that becomes a problem for your roommates. That becomes a problem.
I mean, they're gonna go take their roommates' food.
They do.
Oh my, that will cause a lot of conflict, and even though you are rich and you have all the food in the house, planning, if you've done your groceries for the week, and somebody before the middle of the week is all gone, this will bring a lot of conflict in the family. So we can see binge eating affects the family, affects the individual, affects the society, because this person will not be as productive at his workplace as should be. If she's working, the co-workers at the job will not be held responsible to keep up with the loss of time that this person is now putting in. So it affects everybody. One individual that has this disorder, it could trickle down to affect the whole society. All right, let's take a look at how is binge eating treated. Dr. Wanebe, is this a treatable illness? Is it a treatable disorder?
Well, I think it is. A chronic illness is a treatable disorder. And I think the treatment, because a lot of times when people talk about treatment, a lot of times there's a lot of focus on medication. But the treatment of binge eating really is a combination of medication treatment as well as, holistic treatment, looking at your diet and what you're eating. And also, if there's an emotional problem that's going on that's triggering it, looking at the triggers. So getting into therapy, and seeing a therapist on a regular basis is actually a great way to force yourself to kind of look at it. So look at what you're doing, what the triggers are, and helping you cope. And once you understand what your triggers are, that also is helpful. So I would say the treatment is really in two parts: the medical part of the treatment, as well as the psychological part of the treatment, and also the cognitive part. Remember, it's an illness that is what your brain is telling you, which may not really be what is going on. So how do you talk to your brains? That's what we call almost like cognitive behavioral therapy. How do you use your own mind, talk to yourself to behaviorally change some of your actions? So the cognitive part would include things such as, being more mindful about your eating, meal prep, planning ahead of time, trying to recognize what brings on your cravings. So if you come back from home alone on a long day, you've had a long day, you know that you're going to raid the refrigerator. Maybe when you raid the refrigerator, there's nothing there to binge on. Maybe it's just a lot of healthy drinks or healthy snacks or fruits. Maybe changing up those patterns. Instead of coming home and sitting down in front of the television, maybe when you come home, drop your stuff, leave the stuff in the car and take a walk. I tell a lot of my patients, we all offload our stuff on the car, get into the house, go to the refrigerator, or plug down in front of the TV because we've had an exhausting day. But one thing to do would be just leave your stuff in the car, don't even get into the house, and just take a walk right from your car, 20, 30 minutes in your neighborhood, or first stop at, a park or your local gym. So there are ways to begin to change your behavior, that don't necessarily mean medication. Also, the habit of not eating all day and being hungry at the end of the day, that's definitely going to make you, even if you don't have binge eating disorder, that's going to make you really hungry and binge. And for people who are interested in weight loss, and like I said, binge eating is really separate from weight loss because they're not really linked. It's a separate illness. But people who are interested in weight loss, eating at the end of your day is not going to promote a healthy body weight. So you want to remember to eat 2 to 3 times a day, eat small meals at each time. We all have smartphones, and we use our smartphones for different things. We check email all day, we're always texting, we're on Google, Twitter, we're looking at the election news on CNN Politics, but you could actually use your smartphone as a reminder for when to eat. So put in alarms every 3 hours to say, when the alarm goes off, I have to eat, I have to drink. Keeping yourself hydrated, at least 6 to 8 glasses of water a day will make sure that your body, when it tells you that it's hungry, it may not be hungry, you just may be thirsty.
Right.
So just mindfully thinking about it is a big part of the non-pharmacological way of treating it. And for people of you that are listening to the show that are providers of healthcare, one of the ways to even begin to think about binge eating disorder in your patients is to ask for it. If you don't screen for anything and you don't ask, you may not know that the person has it. So they're coming to you, you're battling with their hypertensive medications, you're increasing it because the blood pressure keeps going up, you're readjusting diabetes medications all the time because of the fluctuation in sugar levels from the binging. So every day you come in, it's the person's insulin or whatever they're taking is, their diabetes is not in control.
Yeah. And
so really, especially for primary care physicians, screening for binge eating is very important.
So when people come to you, how do you screen for this? You have a, how do you screen? Do you have a format, or what do primary care physicians or providers out there, what do they need to do?
So I think it's very easy to screen for. I mean, you can just go online, you pick up the binge eating disorder screener. You can go to bingeeating.com. One of the people that makes a drug that's used for it, you could go to their website. So you could do that. You could ask. Remember, the questions are very, very simple. And what we did was just design a very basic questionnaire for every patient who comes into the waiting room. So when your patient is filling out the regular, how was your day today? What are your medications? Do you have any allergies? They can also fill out, in the last 3 months, have you experienced episodes of where you've had significant amount of food consumption in a short period of time? So you're already having the first screen out there, and then that begins the discussion. Because a lot of times with all, if you don't ask for something, you don't know it's there. And unless a patient is particularly concerned about their weight, they're not going to come in and say, doctor, I'm eating a ton of food, I don't know what's going on. Because, so creating awareness is really asking. And so that's what we call, when we say we're screening, so putting, having a screen in your office, if you're a provider, or just generally screening for the illness, especially primary care physicians,
right,
will be able to pick up the fact that yes, maybe this is going on.
So use of medications. It sounds like there are some medications that have been approved for treatment of this illness. From what are the common things you use? It's okay to call the names of the medications, but yeah,
but
anyway,
like
then we have to.
So I think that's important. So there's only one medication that's federally approved, by FDA approved for the treatment of binge eating. It's called Vyvanse. It's a stimulant. People who are maybe familiar with it, is used in the treatment of attention deficit as well. Physicians and doctors have the ability to use medications off-label, and what we mean by off-label means that the FDA has not approved it for that particular condition, but because it's similar to other medications, or you've had experience with that particular medication, you can still use it. So how does Vyvanse work? We don't know. It does definitely has something to do with stimulating portions of the brain that may help stimulate a particular chemical that is missing. It's very effective, and so that's a good combination. But as you know, with all medications, they have their risks as well as the benefit. And I think that's a discussion you should have with your healthcare provider if you're considering going on a medication for binge eating, which is very effective. It's extremely effective. So patients who are, especially in moderate to severe, so if you're in a mild range of binge eating, your provider will probably want to work with you on other strategies. But if you're more of a moderate to severe, especially someone who's binging over 14 times a week, so 4 times a day, that person definitely needs a medical intervention. So the only medication currently approved is Vyvanse. What are some of the other medications?
Right, other things.
The other medications that could use, like we say, you can use the medication off-label because the serotonin reuptake inhibitors such as Prozac, Paxil, all the regular medications that we use for that, you guys might have heard them, for the treatment of depression, are really off-label indication. The reason why they can be effective, remember, binging is almost like an obsession.
Obsession, yes.
So there's an obsessional quality to that eating and that thinking about the food. So some people have found using SSRIs as effective. So Prozac, particularly in the use, remember when we're talking about binge eating, you want to separate it from bulimia and anorexia. And SSRIs particularly are helpful in the treatment of bulimia nervosa.
Yeah.
Patients who eat and they want to throw up their food. They throw up their food all the time to decrease their body weight. So if you know somebody who does that, please ask them to seek care, see a professional, talk to their primary care doctor, consider seeing somebody in the mental health field and get it taken care of. So it is they're very treatable illnesses.
These medications, you've mentioned Vyvanse. Now, a lot of people will come to you and they know that they're binge eating. They don't want to say they're binge eating. They know Vyvanse is used for ADHD, and they come, they say, oh, I have ADHD, can you prescribe that for me? How do you really tease out if this person is, as a physician, people come to me all the time and they're asking for one thing or the other.
But I think it's important, and I think with any medication that's especially a scheduled medication, a medication that has a potential of abuse, you want to go through what the regular criteria. So physicians do different things. Some physicians have in-office testing. My preference is always to send, especially for patients who have attention deficit. If you want to be wary about somebody who's an adult, who suddenly comes up with and says, oh, I can't concentrate, I can't focus. Well, if you're over 50 and you can't concentrate and you can't focus, maybe we should be looking at another medical condition.
Right.
Maybe there's something else going on. Things that affect your concentration, low vitamin B12 levels, low vitamin D levels. Is this early onset Alzheimer's? So we don't want to rush to judgment. And the advantage of having all these tools at your disposal is to be able to kind of drill down. So somebody who has attention deficit, look at some of the criteria for attention deficit. If you don't do testing in your office, consider doing computerized testing. Look at the corners, send them to a psychologist. You know, so you want to get a diagnosis, remember, and if it's someone who has an eating disorder, look at what the criteria is for the different types of eating disorders. So the importance, I can never state the importance of, as a physician, looking at, yes, listening to what your patient tells you, collaborating with your patient to inform them of what you think is going on. You know, I think in the days of the internet now, everybody comes in and they're semi-doctors. Oh, I read this on, I looked this up, I Googled it, and that's great information because it's empowerment. You know, so your patient comes to you and they're empowered with knowledge, and you want to collaborate. You want to say, well, this is what you're saying that you have. Let's do some testing. Let's get some lab work. Let's talk to family members. Let's get collateral. Let's go through this as a process, because the medications are not, none of the medications are sugar pills. You don't want to give somebody a medication, under the assumption that they said this is what they think they need.
Right.
As a physician and as a healthcare practitioner, even if you're not a physician, a nurse practitioner, anybody who provides healthcare, you want to collaborate and provide information and options to your patient about what you think their treatment should be. So
yeah.
I think that would be the way to go.
Okay, I think that is well said. The other part of it, the therapy. The therapy part of it, we know that cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is very, very effective in treating binge eating disorders. And the amazing thing is how people crave for food. It's a lot of craving. It's not that they are hungry. So in cognitive behavioral therapy, people are taught to look inwards towards themselves and try to override that craving, work on it, look at the thing, try to find other things to take that time.
Distract yourself.
Yes.
Essentially distraction techniques as well.
So
part of cognitive, look at what causes it, when do you do it.
Yes.
Habits are difficult to break. You come back from home, you hit the refrigerator, so switch that habit. Maybe you come back from home and start doing laundry, and you might find that craving, that period of the craving will just pass. Hydration is very important. Keep yourself hydrated. Drink lots of water, because that also helps to lessen those feelings and the wanting to crave.
Well, for our viewers or for listeners who have this, some tips that I want to give to you is you need to remove the triggers. Take away those snacks, those unhealthy snacks, junk food, and clear up your refrigerator. Take away those things that you always go to pick up and eat all the time. Take them out. You have to develop the strength, the ability to take them off your refrigerator, and when you do your shopping, don't buy them. Don't buy those things, because as long as they are in your refrigerator, you will eat.
You will eat them.
Yeah, you will take them. So remove those triggers, those things that you binge on. That's number one. Now, you must learn to separate craving from hunger. Craving, you're full. You're not hungry, you're full, but mentally, you want to eat. There is that compulsion, the drive to go eat something, because this is what you do every 2 hours, or every time you get back from work at 4 or 5, or even you dash to a restaurant. This is what you do all the time. Even though, say you had an outing and you just ate a whole lot, regular like anyone else, but because this is what you do all the time, there's that compulsion to go do it, even though you're full. That is craving. So you learn to separate craving from hunger. Once you do that, you'll be able to resist the tendency to go and binge on food. Like Dr. Wanibe said before, have a fixed schedule for eating. Fix a time when you eat. And even if you feel a little hungry before that time, wait it out, write it out. Stay, don't do it. And our brains, we can always adjust our brains.
Yeah, and also another thing too that we don't realize, that if we eat regularly and you have a fixed schedule, if you eat every 3 to 4 hours, you're actually not going to feel hungry.
Yes.
And the body's going to begin to let go of that food. So the body uses the food better when it's always expecting it. A lot of times people are trying to lose weight, they don't want to eat all day, and then they say, well, I'll eat in the evening. But when you do that, you have to remember your body hangs on to the food because it's in starvation mode, and it doesn't know when it's going to eat again. So then you can't lose the weight. you know, so you feel sluggish, you feel tired. But if you, you know, I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but if you regularly put on your phone an alarm to say every 3 hours, even you're hungry or not, you're going to eat something, you'll find out that without doing anything else, you're just going to begin to lose that weight, and you're not going to be craving things, because your body adjusts to the fact that it's always something is coming. It takes the body a couple of days and it realizes, oh my God, this is coming every 3 hours. It's going to come. So the body, all the hormones, everything calms down, and you begin to have.
But that is huge. I think we may have you come back to talk about weight loss.
Yeah, okay. So, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, because that is another huge.
It's a very big area.
Yeah, we have a lot of. I think I would say America has the highest or the largest amount of obese people worldwide.
Correct.
And I don't have the statistic, but I mean I've gone around, seen a lot of obese people here, and I've gone overseas. You see, I don't think it's that much. Maybe it's our food, the availability, the type of food we eat. Yes. So that is one of those. Now, another tip you need to have or know is avoid boring times. Boredom. Once you are bored, you will look for something to overcome that time. And a lot of people, if you have too much time in your hands, you get in trouble. So make sure you don't have too much downtime. Of course, you have time when you will rest, but some people don't. They come back from work, they get off work at 3 o'clock, 4, they're home, nothing else to do other than sitting in front of the TV, eating and drinking and watching.
I think it's important too for all of us in part of mental health. It's not necessarily waiting till you're mentally unhealthy.
Yeah.
It's like physical health, taking care of yourself. So for people who work, we really need to do more and invest in hobbies. So a lot of times we don't have that. A lot of people say, well, my job is my hobby, I love it so much, but you really need to do other things. And you know, what is the way to try a hobby? Oh, I don't know, I like this. Well, just try it out. A lot of times community colleges offer, if you like to dance, they might offer dancing classes. If you like pets, you can go to a pet store and volunteer. So I think it's just taking that step, just like Dr. Swallow said, you know, avoid being bored. I mean, there's a lot to do, and sometimes when you come back from work, we feel physically tired. But like I tell a lot of my patients, you know, it may not be physical tiredness, it may just be mental tiredness.
Right.
Because you weren't out there, you know, running 10 miles in the office. You probably sat down and talked to 50 people and fed up with whatever you heard. But, you know, so I think, you know, the mental exhaustion is a big part that tells our bodies that we're physically exhausted. So kind of switching up your routine. Instead of coming back home and getting in front of the TV, not being bored, you know, go to Barnes & Noble, join a book club, just listen, or read a book in the bookstore. You know, go to a cooking. You know, a lot of people do, you know, group cooking, and you can go online, go to different sites, and look at a group in your community that cook together.
Wow.
You know, so there are things you can do that can switch up that time that you think is your down, and then when you really come back from that, you feel mentally rejuvenated. Physically, you feel better, not because you know you did anything different, but you did a switch up with the way you were thinking or with your mind. So switching up your activities is very important. Getting involved in new things, you know, picking up a new language, anything.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and another tip is also manage your stress. Stress.
Hard to do.
Manage your stress, and you can do this by exercising. And like she said already, the different things you can do, things that will completely make you wind down. Keep those stressors off your back, the job stressors. Yeah.
Meditation is a very important
thing. Meditation too.
So for people who meditate or who want to learn how to meditate, a lot of times people say that meditation, oh, I can't do it, takes forever. There are lots of apps on your phone that are free, and meditate for 2 minutes. One of my favorite ones is Headspace. You know, so it's an app.
Headspace.
It's mindful. It's free the first 20 sessions, and you know, you just meditate for a few minutes every morning and kind of begin to set your day. What I tell patients a lot of times is that if you wake up and get into your day and just run around your day, before you know it, somebody else is managing your day. Somebody else has set you off. Somebody else has upset you. But if you wake up every day and meditate for 5 minutes and determine to have a particular kind of day, it's really hard to break into that.
Wow, that's wonderful. Naomi, thank you for tuning in. Aaron, thank you. Now, what are the resources out there any resources that
There's
you
a-
know?
I mean, there's a lot. There's lots of resources. You can go to the Binge Eating website, BED. The company that makes the treatment for binge eating, Vyvanse, has a lot of resources on it. Vyvanse.com, bedvyvanse.com. You can come up. You can call our office 410-992-3796, or just go to our website www.solutionsforminds.com, and we have links to resources.
So that is www.solutions
For minds,
Solutionsforminds.com. Solutionsforminds.com. Dr. Angela Owanebe, and she's in Colombia. And for me, you know, your host, Dr. Theo Oswala, I'm right here in Lanham area in Maryland. Office is 301-577-9111, 301-577-9111. You can come. It's Gilead Quantum Health Systems. You can come in and we'll do the evaluation and give you the appropriate treatment, and also testings could be done. But it's been a wonderful time with you on Dr. Gilead's show today. We talked about binge eating disorder. And next week, we're going to talk about a big one, schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is what we have next week, Thursday, next week at 1 p.m. Stay tuned on Dr. Gilead Show. Thank you for tuning in today, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wanebe, for
Thank you
coming.
for having me.
We'll have you again.
Yes, I had a
Talk
great
about.
time.
We're going to talk about weight loss, and I think that would be wonderful. Thank you very much.
Have a good show. That flew by.
I did fly by. What's it?